The bar smelled like burnt circuits and bad decisions, which made it Alex Carter's kind of place. He slouched at the counter, nursing a drink that was either whiskey or industrial cleaning fluid. He wasn't sure, but it was doing the job. Around him, the usual crowd of misfits filled the air with chatter, laughter, and the occasional threat. A three-eyed gambler in the corner shouted about a rigged card game, while a pair of cyborgs at the far end argued in binary. The bartender, a middle-aged android with a synthetic beard for reasons Alex had never questioned, wiped a spotless counter. "You gonna order another, or are you just here to stink up the place?" Alex smirked. "Why break tradition?" The android muttered something about organics and shuffled off. Alex leaned back, letting the hum of the neon lights and the thrum of the orbital city lull him into a semi-relaxed stupor. It was a rare moment of calm in a life that felt like a series of increasingly poor life choices. Then she walked in. The door hissed open, and a hush fell over the bar. Alex glanced up and nearly choked on his drink. She was tall, easily 7 feet, and clad in armor that shimmered like liquid obsidian. The plating seemed to shift and flow as she moved, refracting the dim light into ghostly hues. Her skin was a pale, iridescent silver, and her violet eyes glowed faintly, scanning the room with a sharpness that made Alex want to duck under the counter. When her gaze locked onto his, he froze. Not out of fear exactly. It was more like a deer in headlights, if the deer had a smart mouth and a strong instinct for self-preservation. She strode toward him with the grace of a predator, her boots clicking softly against the floor. The other patrons gave her a wide berth, their conversations fading into uneasy murmurs. Alex could feel every set of eyes in the room boring into him as she stopped in front of his stool. "Alex Carter," she said, her voice low and resonant, with a faint accent that hinted at a language not meant for human tongues. "I've been looking for you all over the galaxy." Alex blinked. Then he blinked again, just to be sure he wasn't hallucinating. That's flattering and all, but are you sure you've got the right guy? I'm more of a local screw-up than a galactic one." Her expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed slightly as if assessing him. "You are the one." "Okay, but are you sure? Because last time someone said that, it was about a parking violation on Ganymede, and I'm still paying off the fine." She tilted her head, a faint frown tugging at her lips. "This is no joke." "That's what the Ganymede cop said too," Alex muttered. Her patience seemed to be wearing thin, and Alex could feel the room holding its collective breath. He decided to cut the banter, just a little. "All right, let's say, for argument's sake, that you're not here to arrest me. What's this about?" Kailara, he'd learn her name later, studied him for a long moment, as if weighing the worth of her next words. Finally, she said, "You are vital to the survival of my people. Without you, we will perish." Alex stared at her, then slowly turned to the bartender. "Hey, Dax, I think you accidentally gave me the hallucinogenic stuff again." The bartender raised an eyebrow. "You can't afford the hallucinogenic stuff." Alex turned back to her. "Okay, let's say you're serious. What's the catch? Do I have to give you a kidney or something?" She didn't laugh, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Amusement, maybe. "Your humor will not save you, Alex Carter, but your blood might." That sobered him up faster than the time he accidentally drank warp fuel. He set his glass down carefully, his tone turning cautious. "You're gonna have to explain that one." "Not here," she said, glancing around at the curious and increasingly nervous onlookers. "This place is unsanitary." "Hey!" the bartender barked. Kailara ignored him and held out a hand. "Come with me." Alex stared at her hand, then back at her face. "Yeah, that's going to be a no from me. I don't even follow people on social media, let alone strangers in armor." Her jaw tightened. "We do not have time for this." Before Alex could argue, she reached out and grabbed his arm. He yelped, not because she hurt him, but because her touch sent a wave of warmth through his body, like stepping into sunlight after a cold night. Okay, he said, trying to pull free. No need to manhandle me, or woman-handle, or whatever the term is. She didn't let go. Instead, she raised her other hand, and a swirling, iridescent portal opened in the air beside them. The bar erupted into chaos, patrons shouting, chairs scraping, someone dropping a drink. "What the hell is that?" Alex demanded, his voice pitching higher than he'd like. "A gateway," she said simply. "To where?" "My world." "Yeah, I'm gonna pass." She didn't wait for him to finish. With a strength that was both surprising and terrifying, she pulled him through the portal. The last thing Alex heard before the world went white was the bartender muttering, "Every damn week." Alex Carter had a rule: never trust anything that glows, hums, or promises an adventure. Yet here he was, being yanked through a glowing, humming portal into what was definitely going to be some kind of misadventure. The sensation was like being stuffed into a washing machine during a warp jump. Everything spun, stretched, and blurred, and Alex swore he could taste colors. His stomach protested violently, and when the spinning finally stopped, he stumbled forward, dropping to his knees on what felt like smooth, warm glass. "Well," he gasped, "that was an experience. Do you guys sell motion sickness pills on your planet, or do I just tough it out?" Kylara stood nearby, unbothered by the journey. Her armor caught the light of a pair of suns hanging low in the sky, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. She spared him a brief glance, then turned to survey their surroundings. "You'll acclimate." "Great," Alex muttered, wiping sweat from his brow as he stood. Then he looked up and promptly forgot how to breathe. They stood on a platform of translucent crystal that seemed to hover in midair, supported by towering spires that stretched into the sky like jagged sculptures. Below, an alien city sprawled in every direction, its architecture a mesmerizing blend of organic curves and sharp, geometric precision. Buildings shimmered with hues that shifted as the light changed, and streams of what looked like liquid energy flowed through the streets in glowing rivers. The air itself seemed alive, filled with faint, musical tones that Alex couldn't quite place but felt in his chest. The sky above was a riot of colors, with nebulae swirling like an artist's masterpiece. "Okay," Alex said after a long silence. "I'll admit it. This is pretty cool. Way better than the view from my apartment." He pointed toward a cluster of floating structures in the distance. "What are those? Alien condos?" Kylara glanced at him, her lips twitching in what might have been amusement. "Those are research facilities." "Figures. Even aliens don't get good real estate." She didn't respond, instead gesturing for him to follow. A set of stairs materialized in front of them, each step glowing faintly as they descended. Alex hesitated, watching the steps warily. "These aren't going to disappear while I'm halfway down, right? I've seen how this goes in movies." Kylara sighed. "They are stable. Move." Alex followed, muttering under his breath about pushy tour guides. As they reached the bottom, the streets came alive with activity. Tall, graceful figures with glowing patterns across their skin moved with purpose, their voices low and musical. Some glanced at Alex with curiosity. Others looked openly startled. Kylara?" he whispered. "Am I getting the 'he's not from around here' vibe, or is that just my imagination?" "They're surprised," she replied, her tone even. "Humans are uncommon here." "Uncommon like exotic or uncommon like cockroaches?" Her lack of reply wasn't exactly comforting. As they walked, Alex couldn't help but gape at everything around him. Hovering vehicles zipped by silently, their surfaces rippling like mercury. Holographic displays projected alien symbols and images into the air, some of which shifted as people interacted with them. In one plaza, a group of children, if they could be called that, chased what looked like floating orbs of light, their laughter echoing like wind chimes. "Okay," Alex said, gesturing to the orbs. "What are those? Alien fireflies? Space balloons?" "Training spheres," Kylara said. "They enhance motor skills and reflexes." "Right," Alex said, shaking his head. "Because regular balls are too boring." Kalara ignored him, leading him toward a towering structure at the center of the city. Its surface was a seamless blend of crystalline panels and flowing light, and it seemed to hum with energy. As they approached, 2 guards stepped forward, their armor similar to Kalara's but bulkier, with helmets that obscured their faces. They glanced at Alex, then at Kalara. "Is this him?" one asked, their voice deep and echoing. Kalara nodded. "He is." The guards exchanged a look, and Alex felt the weight of their scrutiny. "Hey," he said, raising a hand in an awkward wave. "I'm Alex. Big fan of your, glowing armor thing. Very intimidating." The guards didn't respond, but one of them stepped aside, allowing Kalara and Alex to pass. "Friendly bunch," Alex muttered as they entered the building. Inside, the air was cool and filled with a faint, pleasant scent, something like a mix of citrus and ozone. The walls glowed softly, and the floor beneath Alex's feet felt like polished stone, though it gave slightly with each step, like walking on firm gel. Kalara led him to a circular chamber where a group of figures waited, their glowing patterns more intricate than those of the people outside. Their robes flowed like liquid silver, and their eyes, violet like Kalara's, seemed to pierce through Alex. "Alex Carter," one of them said, their voice melodic and measured. "You have been brought here because you carry within you the legacy of your father." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, about that. I think you've got the wrong guy. My dad was more into poker and cheap beer than saving alien planets." The figure's expression didn't change. "Your father's DNA saved our people from a plague that threatened to extinguish us. Without his intervention, we would not be standing here today." "Wait, hold up," Alex said, holding out a hand. "You're telling me my dad, Michael Carter, who once got banned from a bowling alley for cheating, saved your entire species?" "Yes," the figure said simply. Alex stared at them, then burst out laughing. "Oh, that's good. That's really good. You've got a great sense of humor for a glowing alien elder." Kalara's sharp look cut his laughter short. "They're not joking," she said. Alex blinked, his amusement fading as the weight of her words sank in. "You're serious." "Very," Kalara said. Alex rubbed the back of his neck, glancing around the chamber. "Well, this is awkward." Alex Carter had been in plenty of uncomfortable situations in his life, evading debt collectors, talking his way out of a bad date, even being stranded on a space station with only instant noodles for 3 days. But standing in a room full of glowing alien elders, being told his dad was a galactic savior? This topped the list. The chamber hummed with an energy he couldn't place, the crystalline walls subtly shifting colors in response to the voices of the elders. Their words carried weight, reverberating in his chest like bass notes from a distant concert. "Your father, Michael Carter, was unique among humans," one elder began, their voice a blend of deep resonance and musical cadence. "His genetic code contained an anomaly, a rare deviation that allowed us to synthesize a cure for the plague that ravaged our people." Alex blinked, struggling to process. "You're telling me my dad had magic blood?" Kalara, standing at his side, exhaled sharply. "Not magic, unique." "Right, sure," Alex said, scratching his head. "Because that makes it less weird." Another elder stepped forward, their glowing patterns shifting like water rippling over stones. "The anomaly is hereditary. Your father knew this, but he chose to keep his involvement with us a secret from you." "That checks out," Alex muttered. "The man couldn't even tell me where he hid the remote, let alone something this big." Kalara gave him a pointed look. "This is not the time for jokes." "When isn't it the time for jokes?" Alex shot back before turning to the elders. "Okay, so my dad saves your planet, and now you think I can do the same. Hate to break it to you, but I'm not exactly savior material. My biggest accomplishment last week was not burning toast." "Your potential is not in question," the first elder said, their voice calm. "You are your father's son." Alex snorted. "Tell that to my high school biology teacher. She'd have some notes." Kalara's patience seemed to be wearing thin, but she stayed silent, her arms crossed as the elders continued. The disease has returned, the elder explained, their tone grave. It has evolved beyond the cure your father helped create. If we do not act swiftly, it will wipe us out. The weight of their words settled on Alex like a lead blanket. He opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. What was he supposed to say to that? "Why me?" he finally asked, his voice quieter than he intended. "Why not, I don't know, clone my dad or something?" Kaelara answered this time. "We tried. Your father's genetic material was carefully preserved, but it degraded over time. Without a living donor to analyze, we cannot replicate the anomaly." Alex ran a hand through his hair, his thoughts racing. "So what? You're hoping I've got the same magic DNA?" The elder nodded. "You are our last hope." The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation pressing down on him. Alex shifted uncomfortably, trying to think of something, anything to cut the tension. "Well," he said finally, "I guess this beats being an unpaid intern." Kaelara pinched the bridge of her nose, clearly regretting her decision to find him. "Your cooperation is essential," another elder said, their tone sharper. "Time is running out." Alex held up his hands. "Hey, I'm not saying no. I'm just processing. This is a lot to take in, you know? One minute I'm having a drink at a sketchy bar, and the next I'm in the middle of a Save the Galaxy pitch." "We understand," the elder said, their voice softening. "But understand this, Alex Carter. The fate of an entire species depends on your decision." "No pressure," Alex muttered, mostly to himself. After what felt like an eternity of awkward silence, the meeting adjourned, and Kaelara led Alex down a series of corridors that seemed to curve endlessly. The walls were alive with faint flowing patterns, like veins of light pulsing beneath translucent skin. "So," Alex said, trying to break the silence, "how long have you been a galactic babysitter?" Kaelara shot him a sidelong glance. "I am not your babysitter." "Could have fooled me," Alex said with a grin. "What's next? Nap time?" She didn't dignify that with a response, instead gesturing for him to enter a circular room filled with sleek alien machinery. A central console hummed softly, its surface covered in glowing symbols that shifted and rearranged themselves like a living puzzle. "This is the analysis chamber," Kaelara explained. "We'll begin by mapping your genetic structure to determine if the anomaly is present." Alex hesitated, eyeing the machinery. "This isn't going to hurt, is it? Because I'm not great with needles, or lasers, or things that hum ominously." "It will be painless," Kaelara assured him. "Yeah, that's what dentists say too." Despite his protests, he stepped onto the platform in the center of the room. A dome of light descended around him, bathing him in a warm, tingling glow. He couldn't help but make a face. "Is it supposed to feel like I'm being lightly microwaved?" Kaelara ignored him, focused on the console. Symbols danced across the screen, their patterns shifting faster as the machine worked. Alex tried to stay still, but his nerves got the better of him. "So what happens if this anomaly thing isn't there? Do I get to go home and pretend this never happened?" Kaelara didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke, her tone was quieter than before. "If it's not there, we'll have to find another way." Alex frowned, sensing something unspoken in her words. "What does that mean?" Before she could respond, the machine let out a soft chime, and the light around him faded. Kaelara studied the console, her expression unreadable. "Well?" Alex asked, stepping off the platform. "Am I your magic cure or not?" Kaelara hesitated, then looked up at him. "The anomaly is present, but it's incomplete. We'll need to conduct further tests to determine its viability." Alex groaned. "Of course, nothing's ever simple, is it?" She gave him a look that might have been sympathy or mild annoyance. "Complexity is the nature of survival." "Great," Alex muttered. "Add that to the list of things my dad didn't tell me." Kaelara almost smiled. Almost. The Thalren elders weren't kidding when they said Alex Carter would need more tests. What they failed to mention was that these tests involved things like floating in zero-gravity chambers, filled with fluorescent mist, and having a kaleidoscope of tiny robots crawl over his skin. "Okay, this officially qualifies as the weirdest day of my life," Alex muttered, dangling midair in a glowing chamber that looked like the inside of a lava lamp. Kaylara stood outside the observation window, arms folded as she monitored the data streaming across a holographic console. "You're handling it better than I expected." "Better? I'm pretty sure I'm about 3 seconds away from becoming an alien screensaver." He twisted awkwardly in the air, trying to avoid one of the floating orbs that zipped a little too close to his face. "Do these things bite? Because I'm not into that." "They're scanning your neural pathways," Kaylara said without looking up. "Right, neural pathways, super normal," Alex said, kicking at one of the orbs when it hovered near his ear. It dodged effortlessly, emitting a sound that might have been a tiny robotic laugh. "Oh, great. Now it's mocking me." Kaylara's lips twitched, though she quickly masked the expression. "If you stopped flailing, the process would go faster." Alex threw his arms out in exaggerated surrender. "Fine. I'll play nice with the space marbles." The chamber's glow shifted subtly, and Alex felt a strange warmth ripple through his body, like standing too close to a bonfire. It wasn't unpleasant, but it wasn't exactly comforting either. "So what exactly are these things looking for?" he asked, trying to stay as still as possible. "They're mapping the anomaly's impact on your neural network," Kaylara explained. "Your father's genetic anomaly wasn't confined to his DNA. It also affected the way his brain processed information. We need to understand if you share those traits." Alex raised an eyebrow. "You're saying my dad had a super brain? That explains why he always beat me at chess." "Not a super brain," Kaylara said dryly, "an enhanced ability to process complex data and patterns. It's likely what allowed him to assist our scientists in creating the cure." "Right," Alex said, nodding. "So basically I'm Space Einstein's kid, no pressure or anything." Kaylara didn't dignify that with a response. Once the tests were finished, and Alex was finally freed from the floating lava lamp, Kaylara led him to what she called a communal resting space. It turned out to be a massive, open-air pavilion suspended high above the city, with views that made Alex's stomach do somersaults. The pavilion was filled with Thalren of all ages, their glowing patterns shifting in soft, soothing rhythms as they moved about. Some were seated on cushions that seemed to hover a few inches above the ground, while others gathered around holographic displays that projected intricate, shifting images. Alex hesitated at the entrance, feeling like the new kid on the first day of school. Are they going to be cool with me crashing their party?" "They are curious about you," Kaylara said, "but they will not harm you." "That's not exactly reassuring." Kaylara ignored him, gesturing for him to follow. As they walked, Alex caught snippets of conversations in the Thalren's melodic language. Though he couldn't understand the words, their tone seemed calm, almost musical, like a gentle stream flowing over rocks. At one end of the pavilion, a group of Thalren children were gathered around what looked like a large, translucent sphere filled with swirling colors. They took turns reaching into the sphere, pulling out shimmering shapes that dissolved into the air like smoke. "Please tell me that's a game and not some alien version of math homework," Alex said, watching as one of the children pulled out a particularly elaborate shape. "It's a cognitive training tool," Kaylara said. "It strengthens their mental acuity." "Of course it does," Alex said, shaking his head. "Even alien kids are overachievers." Kaylara led him to a low, circular table surrounded by the hovering cushions. As Alex lowered himself onto one, he felt it shift and mold itself to his shape, as if it were alive. "Oh, that's weird," he said, shifting uncomfortably. "It's like sitting on a jellyfish." Kaylara raised an eyebrow. "You've sat on a jellyfish before?" "Not on purpose," Alex muttered, earning what might have been a smirk from her. A Thalren attendant approached, carrying a tray of crystalline bowls filled with something that looked suspiciously like glowing jello. "Is this safe for humans?" Alex asked, poking at the bowl with a finger. The substance jiggled, emitting a faint, pleasant aroma. "It's a nutrient-rich synthesis compatible with your biology," Kaylara said. Right, Alex said, picking up the bowl, because that clears everything up. He took a cautious bite and was surprised to find that it tasted good, really good, like a mix of honey and citrus, with a hint of something he couldn't quite place. Okay, he said between bites. I'll give you this one. Alien food isn't half bad. Kalara didn't respond, instead watching him with a faintly amused expression. As the evening wore on, Alex found himself relaxing, for the first time since this whole mess began. The Thalren, for all their glowing seriousness, weren't as intimidating up close. Some even approached him, their curiosity evident as they asked questions in halting translated English. Why are you so small? One young Thalren asked, tilting their head as they studied him. Hey, Alex said, mock-offended. I'm average height for a human, thank you very much. The child's glowing pattern shifted in a way that Alex suspected was their version of laughter. Despite the humor, a nagging thought kept creeping into the back of his mind, the weight of what the elders had told him. If the anomaly in his DNA couldn't be replicated, if he couldn't help them, what then? Kalara seemed to sense his unease as they walked back to his assigned quarters. You did well today, she said, her tone softer than usual. Well, I didn't break any alien tech or accidentally start a war, so I'll count that as a win, Alex said, forcing a grin. You're handling this better than most would, Kalara said. Alex stopped, looking at her. Honestly, I'm just making it up as I go. That's kind of my thing. Her lips twitched in what might have been a smile. Then perhaps you're better suited to this than you think. As Alex stepped into his quarters, a surprisingly cozy space with a bed that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi furniture catalog, he couldn't help but wonder if Kalara was right, or if this whole thing was about to go horribly wrong. Alex woke to the soothing hum of the Thalren city, a soft symphony of energy currents, faint chimes, and the occasional whoosh of levitating platforms. For a moment, he forgot where he was, staring up at the translucent ceiling that glowed faintly in response to the sunlight filtering through the crystalline spires above. Right, he muttered, sitting up. Alien planet, Dad's DNA. No big deal. A chime sounded at the door, and Kalara's voice filtered through. Are you awake, human? Define awake, Alex called back, rubbing his face. The door slid open, and Kalara stepped in, looking as composed as ever. We have much to do today. Of course we do, Alex said, standing and stretching. Because why would I get a break? Kalara ignored his grumbling, gesturing for him to follow. The elders have granted us access to the Hall of Knowledge. If we are to fully understand the anomaly's potential, we'll need to consult the archives. Alex frowned as they walked through the glowing corridors. Let me guess. The Hall of Knowledge is some ancient, mystical place where I'll probably get zapped by a laser or swallowed by a sentient bookcase? Kalara gave him a look. It is a repository of our most advanced scientific data. Try to take this seriously. I am taking it seriously, Alex said, raising his hands defensively. I just have a thing about libraries. Long story. The Hall of Knowledge was every bit as awe-inspiring and intimidating as Alex had imagined. The entrance alone was a towering archway of shifting light, with symbols flowing across its surface like liquid gold. Fancy, Alex muttered, craning his neck to take it all in. Inside, the hall stretched endlessly, its walls lined with glowing, semi-transparent panels that pulsed faintly in time with an unseen rhythm. Floating orbs of light drifted through the air, casting a soft, ethereal glow over the space. Let me guess, Alex said, looking around. These orbs are going to scan my brain too? Kalara's lips twitched. Number. They are merely navigational aids. Good, Alex said, because I'm not in the mood to get probed again. Kalara ignored him, leading the way to a central console. The interface shimmered to life as she approached, displaying a series of complex patterns that Alex couldn't begin to decipher. Wow, he said, leaning over her shoulder. That's completely incomprehensible. This is the genetic matrix your father helped us create, Kylara explained, her fingers dancing across the console. It's the foundation of the cure that saved our people. Alex squinted at the screen. Looks like a glowing spider web. Kylara sighed, clearly regretting her life choices. As Kylara worked, the console began projecting holographic images, snapshots of Thalren history, the plague that had nearly wiped them out, and the pivotal moment when Michael Carter had stepped in to save them. Alex watched in stunned silence as his father's face appeared in one of the projections, looking younger and more determined than Alex had ever seen him. "Whoa," he said softly. "That's him." Kylara glanced at him. He was a remarkable man. His willingness to help us came at great personal risk. Alex swallowed hard, the weight of it hitting him all over again. Yeah, well, he wasn't exactly big on sharing that part of his life. Kylara's expression softened, just slightly. Perhaps he thought he was protecting you. Or maybe he just didn't think I could handle it, Alex said, his tone more bitter than he intended. Before Kylara could respond, the console emitted a low chime, and a new holographic display appeared. A swirling, intricate map of what Alex assumed was DNA. "This is your genetic structure," Kylara said, gesturing to the display. "The anomaly is present, but its expression is inconsistent. We need to determine why." Alex tilted his head, staring at the hologram. "So what? My DNA's broken?" "Not broken," Kylara said, frowning, "but incomplete. It's as if a crucial component is missing." "Great," Alex muttered. "I'm defective. That explains a lot, actually." Kylara shot him a sharp look. "This is serious." "I know," Alex said, holding up his hands. "It's how I cope, okay? Let me have this." As they delved deeper into the archives, Kylara's frown deepened. "There is a possibility," she said slowly, "that the missing component can be synthesized, but it would require accessing a restricted section of the hall." "Restricted?" Alex said, raising an eyebrow. "As in forbidden? Off limits? Absolutely, positively not allowed?" "Yes," Kylara said, her tone flat. "Awesome," Alex said. "Let's do it." Kylara hesitated. "It is not that simple. The restricted section is heavily guarded, and accessing it without permission is a serious offense." "Let me get this straight," Alex said, crossing his arms. "You brought me all the way across the galaxy to save your people, but now we're stuck because of a technicality." "It is not a technicality," Kylara snapped. "The restricted section contains knowledge that could be dangerous in the wrong hands." "Good thing I don't have the wrong hands, then," Alex said with a grin. Kylara sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "You are impossible." "Thanks," Alex said. "I get that a lot." Despite her reservations, Kylara eventually relented. With a mixture of determination and exasperation, she led Alex to a secluded corner of the hall, where a hidden panel revealed a narrow passageway. "Let me guess," Alex said, peering into the dimly lit corridor. "This is where the traps and security drones come in?" Kylara didn't answer, but the look she gave him said enough. As they made their way through the passage, Alex couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and unease. The walls seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive, and the air was charged with an electric tension. "So," Alex said, trying to lighten the mood, "what's the penalty for breaking into the restricted section? Community service? Alien jail? A stern talking to?" Kylara gave him a sidelong glance. "Focus." "Right. Focus. Got it." The passage opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with glowing capsules that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. In the center of the room stood a towering console, its interface shimmering with unreadable symbols. Kylara approached the console cautiously, her movements precise as she began to work. "Okay," Alex said, standing back. "I'll just not touch anything." For once, he stayed true to his word, watching in silence as Kylara navigated the complex interface. The console emitted a series of low chimes, and a new holographic display appeared, a detailed map of his genetic anomaly, along with a possible solution. Kylara's expression shifted, a mix of relief and determination. This might work. Might? Alex said, raising an eyebrow. That's comforting. Kylara ignored him, focused entirely on the task at hand. Alex stood in the shadow of the massive console, the glow of its holographic projections casting shifting patterns on his face. Kylara worked with focused intensity, her fingers moving deftly across the alien interface. Alex had long since lost track of what she was doing. The symbols and patterns she manipulated looked more like modern art than science. So, Alex said, breaking the tense silence, what are the odds we don't blow something up? Kylara didn't look up. The console is designed to handle immense computational loads. It will not blow up. Okay, but what if it decides I'm a security threat and zaps me into a pile of ash? Kylara glanced at him, her expression somewhere between exasperation and bemusement. The console does not have offensive capabilities. Good to know, Alex said, nodding. For a second there, I thought we were in trouble. Kylara sighed and returned her attention to the interface. The chamber around them hummed with a low, resonant energy, the air thick with an electric charge. Alex shifted uneasily, watching as the glowing capsules lining the walls pulsed in time with the console. Is it supposed to do that? He asked, gesturing to the capsules. Yes, Kylara said. Cool, Alex said. Just checking, because if one of those things pops open and spills out an alien ghost or something, I'm not sticking around. Kylara ignored him, though the faint twitch of her lips suggested she wasn't entirely immune to his attempts at humor. After what felt like an eternity, the console emitted a soft chime, and a new holographic projection appeared, a detailed simulation of Alex's genetic structure, overlaid with a complex series of modifications. Kylara studied the projection, her glowing patterns shifting subtly as she processed the data. This is it, she said finally. The missing component can be synthesized, but the process will require direct neural interface. Alex blinked. Direct neural? You mean like plugging my brain into a computer? Essentially, Kylara said. Great, Alex said, throwing up his hands, because that sounds super safe. It is the only way to ensure the anomaly's full expression, Kylara said. Without it, the cure cannot be replicated. Alex ran a hand through his hair, pacing in a tight circle. Okay, let me get this straight. You want me to hook my brain up to an alien supercomputer, let it mess around with my DNA, and hope I don't end up with a second head or, tentacles? Kylara's expression remained calm. The risks are minimal. Minimal? Alex said, his voice rising. Minimal risks are like paper cuts and stubbed toes. This is not minimal. Kylara stepped closer, her voice steady but firm. Alex, I understand your fear, but you are our only hope. Without this, my people will die. Alex stopped pacing, her words hitting him like a punch to the gut. He looked at her, seeing the weight of her responsibility etched in every line of her face. Fine, he said after a long moment. But if this goes sideways and I turn into some kind of mutant, I'm blaming you. Kylara inclined her head. Noted. The neural interface device was both beautiful and terrifying. A sleek, crystalline helmet that pulsed with an otherworldly light. As Alex lowered himself into the chair, he couldn't help but feel like a sacrificial lamb being led to the slaughter. Okay, he said, his voice trembling slightly. What's the worst that could happen? Kylara didn't answer, which wasn't exactly reassuring. The helmet lowered onto his head, fitting snugly. Immediately, Alex felt a strange warmth spread through his scalp, followed by a tingling sensation that was both unsettling and oddly pleasant. Is it supposed to feel like my brain is getting a massage? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Yes, Kylara said, her fingers moving across a secondary console. Remain calm and try not to resist the interface. Yeah, no problem, Alex said, gripping the armrests tightly. Calm is my middle name. The helmet pulsed, and suddenly Alex's vision was filled with a cascade of images, flashes of alien landscapes, intricate mathematical patterns, and snippets of memories that weren't his own. "Whoa," he said, his voice shaky. "This is a lot." "The interface is aligning your neural pathways with the synthesized data," Kalara said. "Cool," Alex said, his words slurring slightly. "Feels like I'm downloading the universe." Kalara's gaze flicked to the console, her expression tense. "You're doing well. Just a little longer." Alex wasn't so sure. The images were coming faster now, blurring together into a dizzying kaleidoscope that made his head spin. He clenched his teeth, fighting the urge to yank the helmet off. "You could have warned me about the psychedelic trip," he said through gritted teeth. Kalara's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. "You seemed unprepared for the truth." "Yeah, well, thanks for that," Alex muttered. Just when Alex thought he couldn't take it anymore, the images slowed, coalescing into a single clear vision. A glowing strand of DNA, its structure shimmering with vibrant alien energy. "Is that it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Kalara said, her tone filled with awe. "The anomaly, in its complete form. You've done it." The helmet lifted, and Alex slumped back in the chair, his body trembling. He felt like he'd just run a marathon, his mind a swirling mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "Okay," he said, his voice hoarse. "That was intense." Kalara stepped forward, her expression uncharacteristically soft. "You were remarkable." "Yeah, well," Alex said, managing a weak grin. "Let's hope it was worth it." As Kalara transferred the data to a secure storage unit, Alex couldn't help but feel a flicker of pride. For all his doubts and sarcasm, he'd actually done something important, something that might save an entire species. But as he looked around the chamber, a nagging thought crept into his mind. If this was the easy part, what would the hard part look like? The air in the Hall of Knowledge was different now, lighter, somehow, as if the room itself recognized the monumental breakthrough. Alex stood by the towering console, watching Kalara secure the data onto a sleek crystalline drive that glimmered like a shard of captured starlight. "So," Alex said, his voice rough but laced with forced nonchalance, "is this the part where you give me a medal or a parade? Maybe name a street after me?" Kalara glanced at him, her faintly glowing patterns shifting in what Alex had come to interpret as amusement. "Your contribution is noted, human." "Noted," Alex repeated, crossing his arms. "That's cold. I just saved your entire species, and I get a footnote?" Kalara turned to him, her expression softening. "You've done more than you realize, Alex Carter. My people owe you a debt we can never repay." Alex scratched the back of his neck, suddenly uncomfortable. "Yeah, well, just don't make a statue of me. I've got bad posture, and it'd be embarrassing." Kalara tilted her head, considering. "A holographic monument, then, perhaps depicting your first encounter with the neural interface." Alex laughed despite himself. "Great. Immortalize my moment of panic. Perfect." The light humor broke some of the tension between them, but Alex could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The data was secured, the anomaly understood, and the potential cure within reach. Their mission was technically complete, and yet it didn't feel over. Back in the central chamber of the Elders' Enclave, Alex stood awkwardly as the ancient Thalren leaders regarded him with their inscrutable, glowing eyes. Kalara presented the crystalline drive with the reverence of a sacred artifact. "This contains the key to our survival," she said, her voice steady. "The anomaly has been resolved, and the cure can be synthesized." The elders exchanged silent glances, their glow flickering in unison. Then, one of them stepped forward, bowing slightly toward Alex. "Human," the elder said, their voice resonating like a chord struck on a cosmic harp. "You have proven yourself to be more than the sum of your lineage. Your actions today will echo through the stars for generations." Thanks, Alex said, shifting his weight. But, I was mostly just along for the ride. Kaylara did the heavy lifting. Kaylara gave him a sidelong look. False modesty does not suit you, Alex. He smirked. Neither does being a galactic hero, but here we are. The Elder's glow intensified, and Alex had the distinct impression they were smiling, or their version of it. Later, as the two of them walked along one of the spire-lined pathways overlooking the shimmering city, Alex found himself thinking about his father. The holographic images of Michael Carter, so vibrant, so alive, had stirred feelings he wasn't ready to unpack. Kaylara, he said, breaking the silence. Why didn't my dad ever tell me about this? About you? About any of it? Kaylara paused, gazing out over the city. Perhaps he believed you would be safer not knowing. Your father was a complex man, Alex. He carried the burden of his choices alone because he believed it was his responsibility. Alex sighed, leaning on the railing. Yeah, that sounds like him. Always trying to be the lone hero. Kailara's voice softened. And yet, in the end, he was not alone. His legacy endures, not just in our people, but in you. Alex snorted. Right, because I'm such a shining example of heroism. You are more than you realize, Kaylara said simply. The words hung in the air between them, weighty and undeniable. The next morning, or whatever passed for morning on this alien planet, Alex found himself standing in front of the swirling portal Kaylara had once dragged him through. So, this is it, huh? He said, glancing at her. Kaylara nodded. Your role here is complete. But know this, Alex Carter. You will always have a place among the Thalren. Yeah, well, don't be surprised if I show up unannounced someday, Alex said. You know, to check on my holographic monument. Kailara's lips curved into the faintest smile. We will welcome you. The portal pulsed, and Alex hesitated. He looked at Kaylara, at the towering spires of the city, and at the shimmering sky that seemed to stretch into infinity. Thanks, he said, his voice quiet. Kaylara inclined her head. Farewell, Alex Carter. With a deep breath, Alex stepped into the portal. When Alex emerged on the other side, he was back in his apartment, standing in the same spot he'd been when Kaylara had first appeared. The air smelled like rain, and the hum of the city outside was strangely comforting. For a moment, he just stood there, taking it all in. Everything looked the same, but Alex felt different. Lighter somehow. His phone buzzed on the counter, and he picked it up, grinning at the string of missed calls and texts from his boss. Guess I've got some explaining to do, he muttered, tossing the phone aside. As he looked out the window, a small, shimmering device caught his eye, a parting gift from Kaylara left on his desk. He picked it up, turning it over in his hands. A soft hum filled the air, and a tiny hologram appeared. Kaylara's image, her expression serene. Alex Carter, her voice said. This is a reminder. You are more than the sum of your past. Your choices will shape the stars. Alex smiled, pocketing the device. No pressure, right? And with that, he stepped into the world, ready to face whatever came next. Far across the galaxy, the Thalren began their work, synthesizing the cure that would secure their future. Kaylara stood on a balcony overlooking the shimmering city, her thoughts drifting to the human who had become so much more than an unexpected anomaly. In the vast expanse of space, a single choice could send ripples through eternity, and Alex Carter's choice had just begun to echo.